of motivating, encouraging, and preparing students for graduate study leading to the doctorate degree. During this year, 20 sophomore, junior, and senior level students representing different majors have participated in bi-monthly seminars, visited graduate schools, conducted research and other activities that will prepare them for graduate studies. Without you, our mentors, our seminar presenters, avid supporters, and well-wishers, many of these activities could not have been possible. Therefore, the occasion for this evening's program is to express our heartfelt appreciation and a resounding thank you for the McNair Achievers and staff. Stand up, McNair Achievers, and let's show our appreciation to these people for what they've done for us. I'm Rubye Reid, and I manage the McNair program at A&T, and I'm your master of ceremony for this evening. There's some controversy as to what one should call a female who presides over a program like this. So I did a little research, and my resource said that it is proper to call a female a master of ceremony because to be master of an art of anything is not a gender word. So inconsistent with my self-esteem, I chose to be called Master of Ceremony rather than Mistress of Ceremony. Now, you will be the judge of whether I'm Master after the end of this program. So please be generous with your evaluation. I'd like to introduce our dais at this time. Seated on my extreme left is my immediate supervisor and director of the Ron E. McNair and Student Support Service programs, Mr. Charlie Williams, Jr. Seated next to Charlie, if you'll hold your applause until we introduce the whole group, I'll appreciate it. Seated next to Charlie is Dr. James E. Seibert, one of my other bosses, who is the Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Seibert. And the gentleman seated next to Dr. Seibert will be introduced to you later. On my right is the Reverend Paul G. Reid, who is the Associate Minister of Swift Street AME Zion Church, and my husband. Seated next to Reverend Reid is Miss Serena Lowe, a McNair Achiever. Let's give them a hand. We will please rise at this time to receive the grace and invocation by Reverend Paul Reid.
May we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, maker of all things, judge of all men, giver of every good and perfect, hallowed be thy holy name. We gather this evening with thanksgiving in our hearts and praises on our lips for all the bountiful blessings that you have given so freely to us. We are thankful, O Lord, for this, the Ron E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate program. We ask, Father, that you will bless this program, that it may uplift our young participants and stimulate and encourage them to be all that they can be to the glory of God. In the spirit of young Dr. Ron E. McNair, who died in a courageous quest for excellence, be manifested in all the students, mentors, managers, and all who are concerned with this program. May they depart from this place with sincere, renewed interest and focus on the aims and goals of this program. We ask your blessings upon this gathering this evening. Bless the food and the fellowship we share this hour, to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to your service. May be seated.
Please enjoy your meal, and you'll hear from me again later. with the program. Our next presenter is someone I'm very pleased to present. She is a McNair Achiever, and I first met her when she was a freshman working in the Student Support Services program. She has been with us since that time. Serena was around when we were working on the McNair proposal, and she was the first person to be admitted to the McNair program. As a matter of fact, after she found out that Mr. Williams was writing the grant, every time she'd come in, did you hear anything yet? Did you hear anything yet? No, Serena, you'd be the first one to know. And she has been one of my most devoted McNair Achievers. And I'm pleased to have her on our program this evening to talk to you about her experiences with the McNair program. Serena.
Thank you so much, Ms. Reid, for that introduction. Good evening, administrators, achievers, and guests. I was honored when Ms. Reid asked me to recount my experiences with the McNair program. But first, I must tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a senior, majoring in print journalism. Like all the McNair Achievers, I plan to teach at the university level. I also would like to do research on media depiction of the images of black people and other people of color. I have known Ms. Reid, like she has alluded, since my first day as a student at A&T, because I was assigned work study in the Student Support Service office in 1988. We have always maintained a friendly relationship since day one. While I was in the office, I noticed Ms. Reid hard at work on a project, and I tried my best using my investigative reporting skills to find out what it was. And Ms. Reid only told me, she said, you have to wait for the details, Serena, but I do want you to apply to this program. So naturally, I waited, and I checked every day by the office, and eventually she did disclose the details, and that was how I first heard about the McNair program. As one of the original 30 students in the program, I've had many great experiences in the McNair program, starting with my first year of research in 1991. That year, I did research on the history and evolution of black magazines. My mentor was Dr. Alonzo Redmond of the Department of Business and Administration. Last summer, I participated in the research component again, but this time my research was on the television portrayal of black male image. I focused on stereotypes in television sitcoms. My mentor was Dr. Richard Moore of University Relations. He is also a professor in the Department of Speech Communications and Theater. I am proud to say that my research findings will be published in the A&T History Department magazine that will premiere in the fall. Thank you. My 2 summers of doing research for the McNair program have prepared me for my research project this summer. This summer, I will be doing research in Cuernavaca, Mexico. For 9 days, I will be taking a Spanish class and conducting research on media relations between the United States and Mexico. I received a grant of $2,500 from the A&T Foundation. My mentor this summer will be Dr. Nita Dewberry of the Department of Foreign Language. After 3 years in the McNair program, I will miss Ms. Reid and the other achievers when I graduate in December. But one thing I do know is that the McNair staff and achievers have become like family to me. I look forward to the day when we all will return to A&T like Dr. Ron McNair did. Some achievers will be biochemists, engineers, educators, computer science specialists, sociologists, psychologists, business experts. No matter what our specialty will be, we'll all return PhDs in our hands. Thank you so much for listening to my experiences with the Ron McNair program.
this year 20 students in the McNair program, and all of them could tell an experience like that, but the program would have been too long. So what I did, I chose the person who had been with the program the longest to talk about her experiences. And she's been with the staff, Mr. Williams and Ms. Harris. All of us have known Serena all down through the years from the time she came, and she's very special to us, as all of our achievers are. Next, Dr. Seibert, who is the Vice Chancellor, Associate Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, will come and introduce our speaker. Dr. Seibert.
I am delighted this evening to have the opportunity to introduce our speaker of the hour. When Mrs. Reid asked me if I would introduce the speaker, I had no idea at that time who the person was. And when she gave me the bow for the speaker of the hour, and I started to read it, there was a great deal of commonality that I noticed in the bow. And when I met Dr. Melton this evening, it certainly seems as though we had known each other for a while because of the same people and same places that we had visited. Dr. Melton, Dr. Floyd Melton, is the speaker for this evening. He graduated from North Carolina Central University in 1970. In biology and chemistry. And we do have a lot of eagles out there this evening to support that. Yes. He also received his PhD degree from Johns Hopkins University in biology. And one thing I said to Dr. Melton, I said, Dr. Melton, your vita certainly appears to be one that would belong to an individual who had been in the business as a researcher or maybe at the age of about 60. And I said, you certainly don't look to be 60. But if I gave you everything that he has accomplished, then there wouldn't be any time for him to speak. So I'm going to just highlight some of the accomplishments of his vita this evening. He has had wide experience of teaching at both Johns Hopkins University and North Carolina State University. North Carolina State University is where he's presently employed as both a professor and the associate dean of graduate school and graduate school. Dr. Melton has done a great deal of postdoctorate study and has taken leave on several occasions from North Carolina State. He has worked at the National Institute of Health and Laboratory of Biochemical Genetics in 1980-81. He conducted research at the office of the Naval Office in molecular biology, in molecular marine biology in 1987-88. Dr. Melton has received numerous honors and awards. He graduated from North Carolina Central as cum laude in biology and chemistry, 1970. He was elected to Who's Who among students of American colleges and universities in 1970. Elected to the Outstanding Young Man in America in 1983. Provost Professional Development Award in 87, 88. And nominated to the 1990 Thanks to Teachers Excellent Award, National Foundation of Education, the National Alliance for Business and Apple Computer Company. Dr. Melton certainly is a researcher, biological researcher. His research awards have been numerous in the area of molecular biology and genetics. Dr. Melton has received numerous of grants for his research efforts. He has received grants in biomedical research support, experiment station projects, grants from the USDA, and also biomedical research support grants, and several significant amounts. He spends a great deal of this time both serving as chairperson of both the master's and doctoral students, and reviewing both their thesis and dissertation. He has numerous publications, too numerous to mention this evening. And I said to him, I would just simply highlight some of his accomplishments. He does belong to a number of boards, national boards. Some of those are members of the Governmental Interagency Biotechnology Group in Washington, D.C., member of the American Society for Microbiology, National Placement Committee, 1979-81, member of the Arrowhead Conference 2 Jimmy Carter Presidential Center for the Utilization of Minorities and Females in Science and Technology in 1988, member of the Board of Scientific Counselors of the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences in 92. He has held a number of he has had a number of administrative experiences, which include, he's now serving as the Associate Dean of Graduate School at North Carolina State University. He has also been a graduate administrator in the Department of Microbiology and a scientific officer in the Office of Naval Research and Molecular Marine Microbiology. Dr. Melton has served on a number of scientific panels and ad hoc reviews. He's been very active, and the professional service area, to just give a few, he supervised research for the visiting Mars undergraduate research trainees from Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1980. Served as a research scientist for the USDA Research Apprenticeship Program during the summer of 80. He's been the reviewer of the proposed new degree program in agricultural science at North Carolina A&T State University for the General Administration of the University of North Carolina. He served as peer reviewer for the North Carolina Biotechnology Center and small grants programs, and he has numerous professional services which he has rendered in that area. He also finds time to speak. He has used his talents at the elementary school, where he has made presentations, Life Under a Microscope, Advanced Elementary Schools, Genetics and Heredity at North Ridge Elementary in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Genetics and Heredity at Brass Field Elementary School. As you can see, Dr. Melton is has been a very busy person. He's a very able researcher. He is also a scholar, a teacher, administrator, a family man. He's married and has 3 children. And I would like at this time for you to give Dr. Melton a rousing round of applause as he comes to speak.
First of all, I want to say a very sincere thank you to Mrs. Rubye Reid, for this invitation. It wasn't too long ago that I had the real opportunity to meet her, and I was impressed immediately with one thing, which I'm going to talk about a lot tonight, which is excellence. And she's about excellence. And the other thing she's about is taste. And you can look around and see that she puts a program together and she does it very well. So I want to really extend a sincere thank you for this invitation. I want to say to the excerpt that you just heard that I usually say I was blessed because I have a twin brother, and so often you don't know whether you're talking about me or my twin brother. And we both, for those of you who are from North Carolina Central, we both were Eagles. I just remembered a phrase I shared with some people earlier. When I was at North Carolina Central, there was a saying about the eagle, and I'm quite sure that when I say this, people will immediately know what I'm talking about. But that saying went that the eagle was no common barnyard fowl. And I think most Aggies might have heard that too. But I want you to know that that statement I heard over the loudspeaker in B. and Duke Auditorium with Helen G. Edmonds when I was a freshman. And like most of you who attended Central and who had a chance to meet her. And I don't think that there has been a phrase that has settled with me or has kept me online more than realizing that as an Eagle from North Carolina Central that I'm not a common barnyard fowl. And I want to share that with you because that phrase set a vision, and that vision allowed me to accomplish some of the things that was just mentioned. But it always gave me I think a picture of what excellence is supposed to be about. So I want to talk about, for a very few minutes, excellence. And I will refer to my daughters, because my daughters are the, how can I put, sounding board of fathers. They tell you how to dress, they tell you when to dress, they tell you when you are not dressed, and now I find myself on automatic pilot because when I leave the house this morning, I have two daughters that are in high school. They both go to the same high school. One is graduating. And I dressed myself, and I as we drove off in the car, I started saying, well, do I look okay? Is this okay? And they said, oh, Dad, you look fine. Depending on where you're going, you look fine. This word excellence, or the achievement of excellence, is something that intrigues me a lot. And I want to talk first and let you know exactly the point that I want to make. You know, I'm quite sure everybody that goes to these banquets and talks have heard lots of anecdotes. So I'm going to throw one of them to you now. There's this comparison, this analogy often made with speeches that resembles what is called a bull, and the fact that a bull has these pointed horns. And so speeches usually have a point at the beginning, a point at the end, and a lot of bull in the middle. And I'm really here to sort of cut that bull out and let you know exactly what it is that I want to say. I teach a class of, in fact, next fall, a class of introductory microbiology, which is 400 level, and there'll be about 250 to 300 students in there. So this is a good exercise for me to get back into the practice of teaching them. First thing about excellence is there's a universality of excellence. Excellence is something that is very radically and very easily, I think, recognized by people. And I didn't really realize how this was until I started serving on some of the National Science Foundation and National Institutes of Health review committees, where there are hundreds of proposals, some of which come from your own institution. Proposals. And you have to sit there and read these proposals, review the proposals, and learn what magnificent research that people are actually doing. And one of the things that I've been impressed with is that you can always pick the excellent proposal. I don't care whether I'm from North Carolina State University, from Harvard, from Yale, from Central, from A&T, from Federal, from UNC, wherever, if the proposal is excellent, 100% of the time, it's already agreed on. People around the table who are looking at this proposal, for some reason, they can spot excellence right away. On the other end, they can also spot something that isn't excellent. But we agree, I think, very readily on this term, what excellent is. You can stand back, look at it, and it doesn't take long for you to make that decision that it's excellent. So that's the first thing, that it's recognized by all. Second is that it is something that is achieved. It's something that you basically have to work for. We're not born excellent people. I wasn't born excellent. And even though my twin brother thinks he wasn't born excellent either. He's a much better mathematician than I am. But the point is that it is something that you have to work, and therefore it means that you have to sit down and you have to really make some effort in order to achieve excellence. Second point I want to make is there never has been, and there never will be a substitute for excellence. And there is absolutely no reason that one cannot achieve excellence, which is my next point, and that is that excellence is one of those things that belongs to everybody. Can belong, I should say, to everybody. It has no sex, gender, it knows no boundaries in terms of race, no boundaries in terms of age. Excellence is one of these things that can be achieved and recognized by anyone. That's the universality of excellence. The other thing I would leave you with is that if you're going to achieve excellence, then you're going to have to dare to be different. And I think if you look at the biography of Dr. McNair, you find an individual who decided very early to be different. One of the biggest, I suppose, conversations that I have with my three daughters is how they must dare to be different. That's very hard for teenagers because the whole peer pressure is to be alike. It's not to be different. But you're going to have to set yourself aside and decide the road which you're going to travel. And that road has to be uncompromised if you're going to achieve excellence. And I think you have to set about it and set about it early. I'm one of these persons who really believe that we don't necessarily push our young folks hard enough, early enough, that they need to be making decisions. I mean, the thing about, well, you can finish high school and maybe decide what you want to do. Well, we'll give you 4 years in college, and then maybe somewhere around the sophomore year, junior year, you can sort of decide what you want to do. And if you don't know, then you can go to graduate school, and somewhere in there you might decide what you want to do. That's not something that I pretty much would proclaim to. I think you need to make those decisions and make them very early. And what I tell my daughters, what I tell students that I come in contact with, is that if you do not make those decisions, and if you negate those decisions, somebody else is going to make them for you. And the earlier you take charge, the better you are. The later you take charge, the less options that you're going to have. And I think this whole game of life is about having options. And those options come to you if you take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you. They do not come if you do not take advantage of those opportunities. There's not any one of us here who have gone through graduate school and achieved any kinds of degrees that have not been able to do it simply because we sat there and endured it. You have to push yourself. And I'm going to get into what I consider marks of excellence in a way. But I will say to you, and I think that this program is an example of your starting to dare to be different. That this program sets you apart from a great number of students who will not have the same opportunities you have. And I will challenge you that for every opportunity that you have a responsibility. that because you're sitting here tonight and you are achievers, you have a responsibility. That responsibility goes to someone else. And I'm a firm believer that unless you pass knowledge to someone else, you don't have it. Unless you can teach someone else, you haven't learned. And I would like to challenge you to take that to the limit. That is, dare to share yourself with others. I mean, excellence is something that's pretty much like this light that's blinding me over here on the left, on the right. It is something that you can't help to do notice. It is also something that I'll talk about later of consuming. It consumes you and will consume others around you. And I'll get back to that later. But now let me, now that I've told you what points I want to make, now I can ramble for the rest of the afternoon. So let me tell you that there are 5 or 7 points that I want, if time permits, I want to sort of highlight in another way. And that is, what are some of the marks of excellence? How do we recognize it? How do we prepare ourselves for it? And what are some of the things that we share in terms of achieving excellence? And some of these are things that you, as achievers in the Macmillan program, have already started to do. And, you know, one of the things that we don't do in education a lot is sort of reach over and say, hey, you've done a good job. And so tonight I want to say you've done a good job. You have started where you should be, and the challenge is to continue. So the first mark I want to say has to do with motivation. I am a firm believer. You know, my oldest daughter, who I probably talk about most, because she's also been the one that's been the most challenging for me, but she will say, you know, Dad, I'm taking this chemistry class, and I'm not doing well. And I would say, well, Alexia, my daughter's names are Alexia, Alicia, and Althea. So Alexia, I will say, yes, I can see from your report card that you're not doing well. Okay. It's nice to confess to this, but I can see that you're not doing well. And then she will start telling me why she isn't doing well. Well, I'm not doing well because the instructor is just not good. The instructor is I can't relate to the instructor. The instructor doesn't seem to relate to me. You know what that is? And so I sit there and I listen and go on, and then I say to her, you know, what would you do if there were not an instructor in the class? Do you think you could learn anything? And she stops and goes, I don't know. I said, well, do you think if you were locked in a closet and just had the book, could you learn? Do you think you could learn if you just learned what was in the book? My point is that sometimes you have to motivate yourself. You have to have an intrinsic motivation to do something. You have to get up in the morning, and those of us who are adults know about this. Get up in the morning and get out to go to work. And the first student that I meet in the morning is my first motivation. Because their problems are usually much more than my problems. So I'm usually glad to meet somebody who's got bigger problems than I have. But you have to be motivated. And unfortunately, I think that many of us, some of the times, we don't talk about and think about ways that we can be motivated. If you've ever taken organic chemistry, which most of you have taken organic chemistry, it's one of those courses that you've got to have intrinsic motivation for. Okay? Otherwise, the job isn't going to get done. Well, it isn't just motivation, meaning self-starting. That's what I call it, self-starting or jump-starting. The other is perseverance. You know, it's one thing to start a job. It's another thing to see it through. And that, I think, is one of the greatest problems for some of us who may be in graduate education. We can start a program, but we don't finish. You've got to carry through. You know, it's almost like a person on a football. I say football because since North Carolina State didn't do well in basketball, I have to go to football. I mean, it's like a quarterback running down the field and somewhere at the 50-yard line just lays down with the ball and decides to have a rest and take a siesta on his way to the goal line. perseverance is something that goes along there with motivation, but it is also seeing a light at the end of the tunnel and keeping on the mark and moving towards the particular goal. I tell students when they talk to me about graduate school, everybody talks about getting into graduate school. Well, that's not a problem. I mean, you can get into graduate school. The thing is getting out of graduate school and keeping the sight of the fact that you're not there for 10 years. You're there for as short a time as possible to obtain the knowledge that you need to do the thesis that you have to do and get on with it. That's what I think graduate school is about. But persevere. You have to persevere through that life. Now, what that also means is that you are going to have to set goals. The mark of excellence is that you have prioritized, you have set goals that you want to achieve. And I am a firm believer in setting goals. And I say that in all earnesty because I think very early in my life I started setting goals. I had a very good mentor who is since now retired, who was a chemistry teacher in high school. And I think she taught me how to set goals for myself. So, and also an instructor I had in elementary school in the 8th grade. In the 8th grade, and those of you who are my age will remember these sort of things. In the elementary schools in North Carolina, and I'm quite sure in the rest of the country, there used to be a form, a huge manila form that was called a cumulative record, I guess it was. And in the cumulative record, the teacher at the end of the year wrote down not only your grades, but also any kinds of aspirations you might have had and anything like that. And you can always go back to the cumulative folder and find out what it was you decided you wanted to do. In the 8th grade, on my cumulative folder, it says, I should like to be a professor in a university. It says that I should like to go to Yale. And for some reason, Yale University to me was just the epitome of a university. I wanted to go to Yale. Well, I missed Yale and went to Johns Hopkins. And I must say that I usually tell people this, and I really do mean it. I am doing exactly everything that I've ever wanted to do. And, you know, a lot of folks, they can't say that, but I really enjoy what I do. And that makes it a pleasure for me to obligate myself to functions like this because I really enjoy doing it. So setting goals is important. And that process of setting goals allows you to have a vision. And you must have a vision of what it is you want to be. I always tell students who come to my graduate office, the first question I have for them is, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Because the point is, what is it that you want to contribute to society? And as an expert in molecular genetics, biology, history, English, psychology, sociology, what is it that you want the world to know you for? That's the question that I ask. Don't come to me and say, well, I want to get into graduate school. That's not the question I want to know. I can get you in graduate school. I want to know why you want to get in graduate school, and I want to know what mark you are going to leave on the world. You know, I just had a chance to talk to a group of students at my own university, and they were, one of the topics that they had was something like excellence, striving to remove mediocrity. You know, and I try to, this word mediocrity is the fact that it's when people are comfortable where they are and they don't move anywhere else. Okay? And they settle for the status quo. That's mediocrity. Excellence despises the status quo. It never is settled. It is something that's dynamically moving and has a dynamic expectation, okay, to achieve, to move, to succeed, to be better. Okay, I used to be a 4-H'er, and I believe in that particular motto. Okay, you are going to have a dream and have a vision. This thing about vision also means that a lot of times there is a play acting role. Let me tell you about my teaching experience. Someone wanted to know, well, when did you learn to be a teacher? Well, I'm not sure when that happened, but I can tell you that when I was at North Carolina Central, staying, and the men in the audience will recognize this in Chitley Hall, and this is when Chitley Hall was Chitley Hall. I remember that there used to be a single blackboard in Chitley Hall, a movable blackboard. And I remember some friends who were physicists, who were geneticists or biologists and chemists, who used to fight for this blackboard every night because, and in fact, the first thing we had was a brigade that would go down and hide this blackboard because we needed it for the night study. That blackboard became important to me because it was my way of teaching the study group that we had. And so for a long time, we traded off, each person acting as the instructor. And you couldn't use a book if you were an instructor. You had to know what you were doing. This works well for organic. For organic chemistry, if you want to make an A in organic chemistry, teach it to somebody else. I can tell you that. And when I was at Central, it used to be called the Melton's Method. And I'll tell you a friend who named it that, but anyway, it's the Melton's Method. The other thing is, you have to be committed. Now, we can talk about being involved. You know, my daughters are involved in high school, but they're not committed to high school. They're involved in high school. But you have to be committed. And that commitment, after forming and having this vision, one must be committed and persevere to achieving what that vision is going to be, the reality of the vision. Now, this is the time for another antidote. There's this very nice antidote about the difference between being involved and the difference in being committed. And it goes, for me, from a land-grant institution, and for most of you from a land-grant institution, you will share this. Turns out that a very dedicated teacher one day was having a problem in explaining this concept of differences between involvement and being committed to a young man. And she proceeded to draw from all she could the kinds of analogies that would bring to bear what this difference is. And so finally, when everything else was away, was of no success, she asked the young man, well, what did you have for breakfast this morning? And he said, well, I had pancakes, I had some bacon, I had eggs, I had juice, and she said, okay, fine, you can stop right there. She says, well, I'm going to try to see if you can follow me in this analogy. She says, well, let's see, you had bacon and eggs. In this breakfast, she says, I want you to know that the eggs were laid by the hen, and the hen can be said to have been involved in your breakfast. And that hen walked away from your breakfast but left the eggs. But the bacon was donated by a pig. He was committed to that breakfast. Okay? And he does not walk away from this breakfast. What that says is that commitment requires a part of us. The commitment requires that a part of us is lost in this vision of achieving excellence. And that we are not blinded nor concerned, basically, of being taken off that particular path. And in fact, a commitment is very much like these candles that are burning here on this table. It's very interesting about candles. Candles give off a very bright light to darkness. If you darken this room and had the candles, they will light this room up. In giving off that light, the candle is consumed. There's not a candle that I know, unless it's an artificial one, that can burn without consuming itself. And yet, in consuming itself, it shares itself, it enlightens those around it. And excellence works that way. And that is, it's consuming, but yet those around it gain something from it because of you. And you make the difference. The next thing I want to say is believing in yourself. You know, there are times when you are, and this happens when we get older more than you young people, but there are times when you reflect, and that reflection requires that you, there are occasions in your life where no one else can do it but yourself. I'll give you some of these occasions. I'll give you one very easily that's going to come up in the next couple of weeks. You're sitting in an exam. You're taking a final exam. No one else can do it but you. I remember taking a physics exam that I certainly wish that somebody else could have done it besides myself. But when you get down to it, no one else can do it for yourself. In graduate education, there's something called a comprehensive exam. You can go through 2 years, 3 years, and maybe 4 years, depends upon the discipline. You have learned, you have studied, you have done everything, and now comes the time. And we're not even talking about defending a defense, a thesis. We're talking about getting to what is called the comprehensive exam. And you are marched into a room with people, 4 or 5, whoever. Actually, I thought they opened the door and everybody came in, but whoever, who can ask you anything in a discipline. Now, am I lying? I think that's true. Most of us have had this experience. Anything that they want, and demand an answer. No one else can do it but you. But I can tell you and assure you that believing in your abilities, assessing what your abilities are, building and actually taking an inventory of your abilities. You can do that right now. You know, it's very easy. There are things that you know you can do. There are things you know you can't do. There are things that you can't do. There are things that you can improve. Every one of us can make that list in 5 minutes. And I would say to you, as young people, the quicker you make the list, the longer you have to work on it. And we need to do that. But you need to have, and I was glad to hear Mrs. Reid use the word esteem, self-esteem. Never allow anyone, and as this goes, I'm going to talk to students, this goes for parents, this goes for instructors, this goes for administrators, never allow anyone to make you feel small. The self-esteem says, I am important. The self-esteem says, I can do the job, regardless of what you're telling me. I can remember several occasions where students have been told, well, you can't achieve, you can't do this, you can't do that, okay? And in fact, just recently, a young man who was told that, and now is doing a postdoc at Johns Hopkins University. And the point is that every time someone tells you that, there's an opportunity to put it in the face. That's what I say, okay? I mean, I work that much harder when I'm challenged when someone says, you can't do. The answer to that is, yes, I can. In fact, I've long believed, even when I was at North Carolina Central, I believed that I could do as well as any student at Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Caltech, anywhere. If I have the same book you have, I can do it. I can read. You can read. Okay? So there is never an excuse of putting yourself down and not achieving. You can read, you can do it. It may take the time differential between people is insignificant. The question is that you can get the job done. And the last thing that I would say to you is this thing of follow through. Set goals, have a vision, have a dream, and then follow through. It's like the tennis coach that tells you that, you know, the serve is part of it, the swing is part of it, but you have to follow through. And if you don't follow through, the ball ain't going where it's supposed to go. Okay? Same thing with, I play a lot of racquetball. Same thing with racquetball. It's important to follow through. Why? Because people will also notice that this person can set goals, this person can achieve. I want to say that I have definitely enjoyed to have been with you, and it's nice. It's also nice because this is my first time being downtown Greensboro, and I have to admit that first of all, being from North Carolina, I used to in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade spend my summers at an institute that actually at A&T. That's probably one of the reasons I went to Central, because I was at A&T from 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. But I never got downtown. And even when I come over to visit Dr. John Allen, a very good friend of mine in animal science, I very seldom ever get to see downtown. So I want to thank you for having this downtown. And now I can tell people there is a downtown Greensboro. And I've enjoyed that. I would say to you, those of you that are in the McNair program, you have a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful beginning. You are surrounded by people who care. Ms. Reid is sitting here, but there's the Vice Chancellor sitting over here. You are surrounded at A&T by people who are supportive, who care, who come to work with one goal, and that is to see you achieve. So I will say to you that you have a responsibility, and that responsibility is that when we open this program up, that we just don't want to see Dr. Ronald McNair in this program. We want to have additional people from North Carolina A&T in this particular program because you can be honored. That's my challenge to you, and that is, and if I can be of any help to you, besides paying tuitions and tuitions and changing grades, those are two things I don't do. But if I can be of any assistance and help to you, I should be glad to do that. And I want to say again, thank you very much.
Dr. Melton, on behalf of the Ronald McNair Fair and the students, would like to present to you this plaque of our appreciation and a memory of this day.
I want to thank you very much. This has in recognition of our standing support to the Ronald E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program, given this 22nd day of April, which is actually 3 days before my wedding anniversary. So thank you very much.
We thank Dr. Melton for giving that splendid, very splendid address. My name is Charlie Williams. I'm on the program as a response to that. The very first thing that I would like to say, for those of you who are Aggie-bred, Aggie-born, we were always taught that eagles were common, but foul. Every Aggie knows that's what an eagle is. I've had an opportunity to work with for a long time in our organization, and
there's one everywhere.
I've found that actually they aren't really common. It's funny. They aren't Aggies, but they aren't that common. They may be a duck or something like that. But Dr. McNair stated it better. He said, before you can make a dream come true, you must first have one. And I think that is essentially what Dr. Melton is trying to say. You've got to have the dream. You can't allow people to steal your dream. How is it that UNC Chapel Hill have an average SAT score? The student goes in there with a score of 1,200. And a student comes to A&T with a score of 800. In 4 years, they're able to compete on equal terms. How is that?
The university system of North Carolina in 1991 graduated approximately 738 people with doctorate degrees. Only 38 were black or minorities. What is that? If you can compete on equal terms after 4 years, make up 500 points on SAT, why do you not graduate? Why do you not get a doctorate degree? The problem is not lack of ability. It's lack of grooming. This gentleman here is an associate graduate school student that the McNair program tries to get their students involved with, to link up, to understand what it means to get a PhD, to understand the lifestyle. We try to link up with mentors on our campuses to show them we cannot afford to send kids to graduate school who've not had a research course. And basically what graduate school is about is research. They go through undergraduate school, come out 3-4 point average, never taken a research course, go to graduate school, first thing hit them, research. They don't know. They're starting behind the 8 ball again. We cannot afford that. So what we in the McNair program strive to do is to get our students to understand what graduate school is about, to understand that around 2020, minorities will make up at least 1/3 of the population. Who are going to teach at our institutions in 20, 30 years? If we do not train them, if we do not streamline them into going to graduate school, into doing things, we aren't going to have them. We aren't going to have any institutions because we aren't going to have anybody to teach in them. That is basically what the McNair program is about. And it's more about cultivating our students, teaching them about research, teaching them about mentoring, getting an idea of what it's like. We take them to different institutions that have graduate programs, especially those institutions that has a record of bringing them in and getting them out. We don't try to put them in places that get them in and keep them. And we try to work out agreements with people such as Dr. Melton that is aware of different types of financial aid for our students. One of the things that our students face is that once they graduate from college, their parents and everybody else that they've known for all their lives are ready for them to get jobs immediately. Immediate restitution. Because what happens with a lot of our students, especially students in the McNair program, because McNair, by federal law, is simply for low-income and first-generation college students. That means that that student's parents, neither of that student's parents could have gone to college. Okay? So those kids, parents can't help them when they go and get into problems with college because they don't have that experience. They don't know about college, and they are low income. So instead of getting out of high school, working, helping the family, they go to college because of greater burden on the family. Okay? Now, when they graduate, the family is expecting them to get a job. My son went to college. He graduated. He needs a job. And then we are in a position saying, look, we need to go to graduate school. Now we've got to convince the student, got to convince the parent, and got to find financial aid. It's not really that easy for these type of students, but what you have to do, and not only for McNair students, Dr. Hayes, for all our students, is to cultivate and motivate and let them understand that college is great, but you got to have a dream. And you got to, and within that dream will build challenges. You can't let anybody steal your dreams, but you can't sit on your laurels and achieve your dreams. That has to be the single most important thing that you want to do. If you want to be a microbiologist, a chemist, a doctor, whatever, that has to be the single most important thing that you want to do. And you have to always keep that in front of you. And no matter what type of obstacles that confront you, there are other ways, there are alternatives. Reid here and myself had a lot of obstacles that we found ways around. And you have to work at it. You have to keep your dreams. Keep whatever you want to be. Keep it right there in front of you, and you can achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams, for that wonderful response. And thank Dr. Melton for his wonderful message. You've certainly given the students a lot of things to think about and to remember as they complete their work at A&T and strive to go on for the PhD. We appreciate not only your coming to be with us this evening, but all of your support. Dr. Melton hosted a visit for the McNair Achievers on the campus of North Carolina State in Raleigh. He also invited a couple of our students to the visitation program, the Bright Visitation Program. So he's an avid supporter of the McNair program, not only at A&T, but as he came in, he was telling me that he had a group of McNair scholars from Nashville, and that he will be entertaining some other McNair scholars later on this year. So it's people like Dr. Melton and those other supporters that are in this room, our mentors that keep us going and help our jobs to be a lot easier. The next person on our program is also a McNair achiever, and she has been in the program almost as long as Serena. Her name is Patricia Heath, and she is a senior also, and she's majoring in business administration, and she has completed 2 summers of research with the McNair program. And Patricia hasn't missed many of our activities, and this is what has earned her the honor of being on this program this evening. Patricia will come to us now and share with you a poem written by Erica D. Smith, who is the SBA president for the 1992-93 year, and Erica wrote this poem for the memorial service honoring Dr. McNair at our institution this fall. I think you'll enjoy it. Patricia.
Good evening. A poem for Ron McNair by Erica D. Smith. 10 minus 2 and counting. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off the McNair line. He saw a star and followed it. The gleam was enough to show that knowledge and wisdom lay hidden out there where few dared to go. He said to his people, I'll brave it for you to see what all to see. Perhaps I'll find a place to live, all races, all people in peace. He did not go for personal gain. His attempt put the Aggies on the map. He did not go for accolades, not for praise, nod, or clap. But he went to blaze new horizons, striving earnestly to reach his goal. So he journeyed to solve life's mysteries, a wealth of knowledge untold. The shuttle challenge failed, sacrificing lives as it burnt through the sky. But memories of the souls live on. The challenges in their hearts will never die. As Ron is thousands of miles above us, if we could hear him, I'm sure he'd say, Aggies, you can celebrate my accomplishments, but realize I've only unveiled the way. It's up to you to follow your star, do groundwork for a brighter day. The world depends on it and you. You must pave another way. The countdown has begun. Are you ready to see it through? 10 minus 2 and counting. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. The rest is up to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. That poem is in your program, and it's especially significant to me because Erica is my sorrow. And what sorority is that? Now we're going to change a little bit right now. We're going to come to the awards and acknowledgement section of our program, and we ask you to bear with us because this is the reason why we're here this evening, to pay tribute and to say thank you to those persons who have helped us have a successful year. And we have some certificates that we want to give to those special persons. Everybody in this room is special. Do you feel special? Everybody in this room is special to those of us who work with the Magnia program. That's why you were invited, because you have touched us in some way, and you have supported us in some way. But there are some that we couldn't give everybody recognition and awards, so we had to choose some people, that have been a little bit more avid about their support to recognize this evening. The first person to be recognized is Dr. Shirley Hall. Dr. Hall has been a real good supporter of the Magnia program this year. We went on 2 graduate school visits during this academic year. The first one was to North Carolina State, which was hosted by Dr. Melton. And the second one was to Virginia Tech, the Virginia Technical, whatever Tech, I call it Virginia Tech. Well, Polytech. And in Blacksburg, Virginia. And that's where Dr. Hall attended. And she is a professor at A&T. And through Serena, I found out that she would sponsor a trip, or she would get us a trip to Virginia Tech. So she arranged it. We had a two-day trip there, overnight, and at their expense. We had an opportunity to meet with the graduate school dean there. We had lunch. They paid for us to live in a hotel. They gave us dinner, which was hosted by an Aggie who is there working on his PhD. We had a wonderful time. And she accompanied us on this trip. And she took pictures and gave them to us for our scrapbook. And as we came back, she took one of our students to the Virginia Tech Alumni Association meeting here in the city, and at which time they awarded the Magnia program $50 towards that trip. Let's give Dr. Hall a hand. Dr. Hall. And it says, in recognition of outstanding support to the Ronald E. Magnia Postdoctoral Achievement Program, given this 22nd day of April in the year of our Lord, 1996. Without people like this, we can't. The next person I want to recognize is Dr. Sullivan Welborn. He is the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, and Dr. Welborn is our upline boss, and he supports us in many, many ways. Dr. Welborn. Dr. Weldon Fletcher. I would be remiss if I did not recognize my other boss, Dr. James Seibert. This person could not be with us this evening, but she is my soror and a very avid supporter of the McNair program. She has conducted seminars for us each year, and she has mentored one of our summer research students, Dr. Linda Jordan. Let's give her a hand. The next person is a young man that I love dearly, and we adopted him as a McNair achiever. And I'm not a person who likes to drive, and I definitely don't like to drive vans. So when we go on our graduate school visits, we always ask Mr. Cooper, Gary Maxwell, to drive for us. Gary Maxwell. Mr. Maxwell is known as Mr. Cooper because Michael Bernard gave him that name because he didn't know his real name. This plaque goes to one of our mentors, who is the Public Information Director at North Carolina A&T, who took time from his busy schedule this past summer to mentor Serena Lowe in her project, Dr. Richard Moore. He's not here, but give him a hand. Dr. Moore is also my homeboy. He's from Hip Springs, South Carolina. Tell him I said that. Our next mentor is Dr. Jimmy Williams, who is the chairman of the English department. Dr. Williams has served as a mentor for the program for 2 summers. Thank you, Dr. Williams. The next person is Dr. Danny Pogue. Dr. Pogue has also served as a mentor for the McNair program for 2 summers. Both summers he supervised Ms. Patricia Heath in her research. Thank you, Dr. Pogue. Thank you. Dr. Mary Tuggle. Is she able to make it this evening? Dr. Mary Tuggle, she is the chairman of Speech Communication and Theater Arts Department. Dr. Elvira Williams also mentored for us this past summer, and Dr. Williams is director of the physics department, chairman of the physics department, I'm sorry. Another one of our mentors who could be with us this evening is Dr. Robert Levine, who is a member of the department. He is a professor in the English department, and each year Dr. Levine has conducted our standardized test preparation workshop. Dr. Levine, please give him a hand. There are others, Dr. Robert Davis, who is Director of Institutional Assessment, who has served as a mentor for our program for 2 years, and has a student who is planning to do research under him this summer. He has also conducted seminars for us, and he's an avid supporter of the McNair program. We have many, many, many more people that we could recognize here this evening because of their support and the contribution they've made, not only tangible but intangible, just by your smiles and just by your encouragement and just by coming by and saying, keep up the good work. We appreciate you. The next group of people I want you to meet are the McNair achievers themselves. And the first one is Douglas Jonas. Douglas is... The next one is Keavani Hinton. have Sonia Cox. Katina Lyons. Patricia Heath. Gordon Burkett. Marlise Buffet. Karen Slater. Dina Cofield. That's not Deanna, that's Dina. Therese Harris. I always pronounce his name wrong. Is it Therese or Therese? Therese, I'm sorry. Mr. Kappa. Mr. New Kappa. Michael Bernard. Darren McConaughey. Is Darren here? Francis Williams. Reginald Rucker. Serena Lowe. Therese Olison. Amelia Bird. Belinda Freeman. We have some special guests with us this evening. Like I said originally, all of you are special. But I think it would be a little bit ludicrous to have all of you to stand. Maybe not. But anyway, I'd like to recognize some special people that are here with us this evening. And a very special guest for me this evening is my nephew, William Wayne Tedford II. My parents, Mr. and Ms. Alfonso Tedford. My brother, Bill Tedford. The parents of Mr. Williams, Mr. and Mrs. Charlie Williams Sr. Mr. Williams' children, Tiffany and Jeffrey. Margaret, and I can't remember your last name, Margaret, his sister. Terry. And as Charlie says, his Benita. I'd like to recognize some members of the CAS staff. First, Dr. and Mrs. Edward Hayes, Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. Dr. Sullivan Wellborn, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. We've met Dr. Seibert. I would like you to meet Mrs. Jane Seibert. I'd like you to meet Mr. James Collins, Mr. Chancellor, North Carolina A&T. Mr. Leon Warren, who is Assistant Vice Chancellor for Career Development. With all of the members of the Student Services staff, please stand. Student Services Department. Division. I'd like to also recognize those persons in my office who help make me look good. Student Support Services and Magnia staff. Oh yes, can't forget to recognize Ms. LaVon Matthews, who is the Director of Contracts and Grants. And Mr. John Steele, who is in Contracts and Grants and keeps our budget straight. I'd like to recognize Ms. Dorothy Yarborough, who is the President of the North Carolina Council of Special Program Personnel. Would the other trio staff persons please stand? Ms. Gertrude Ross, Director of Student Support Services at UNCG, and Ms. Thelma Copeland, Director of Student Support Services at Bennett College. Will all the faculty members please stand? I meant to recognize Dr. Michael Simmons, who has served as a mentor for the McNair program. I hope I have not omitted anybody. Did I omit anybody? Oh, Chris Thompson, Christina and John and Christina Thompson. Oh, yes, and Fed. I can't remember his name. Reid, Dr. William Reid, who is the past director of special programs at Clark University, Atlanta. Oh, yes, and Ted Mangum, our video person for the evening. Okay, I don't want anybody to be mad with me tomorrow. Okay, thank you so very much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed being here as much as we've enjoyed having you. Drive carefully, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much.
I heard you mention you know now.
Yes.
You go fishing with him last
No, John and I haven't gone fishing together. He comes
excellent program. They bring you down that way. And I thought it might have
No, this is I have not been able to get on his fishing list yet. But he's usually down in my laboratory for some things that we do often together. I really like him. Thank you very much. Yes.
You said fishing, not with me.
Fresh water? Fresh water or? Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make you an honorary McNair person.